So today I'm going to talk about doing something that might be a little bit experimental-ish. I got to thinking about the holes in the roof on this big old Ford and about how to repair them, and specifically how to repair this hole right here, which is above the windshield and under the windshield gutter, goes down into the top where the windshield is there. And I suppose, you know, one way to fix this would be to take the whole windshield out, rebuild that whole section there, and put the whole windshield back in. I was thinking, geez, it seems like there might be an easier way, or there should be. And I started thinking about this this Pour 15 paint. You know, I mentioned the other day that it dries really hard, so much so that I spilled some over here a few years ago, and it's never done anything. In fact, there's some of it right here that spilled and ran down the side of an antifreeze can, and it hardened to the texture of plastic. And I was thinking about that. I was thinking, well, you know, when you do a fiberglass repair, you put something that's going to dry, fiberglass resin and hardener, and you put some fiberglass resin down over it and you let it dry, and then after it's dry, it's hard and permanent. And I was reading about the Pour 15, and they were saying pretty much the same thing about it. In fact, I worked with a guy who used to work with a guy who repaired boats, and he used to repair the transom on boats. You know, they take a lot of pressure because an outboard motor is pushing and pulling on them all the time, and rebuild those and use Pour 15 to strengthen the whole thing. You put layers of wood in there and put Pour 15, the way he described it, just glob it all over it. Well, I got to thinking about this and how it would work if you use some fiberglass mesh. You know, painted this, laid the fiberglass mesh into place, then put another coat on top of it, and then came inside and did something similar. And then I got to reading online, and I found an article in I believe it's a Chevy magazine or something, where they had done some body repair, and they had mentioned that particularly working around windshields, windows, and things of that nature, where it's very hard to weld up holes, that they use Pour 15 with some fiberglass resin to make their patches with. So that got me thinking about that. And the other thing I got to thinking about was that I've got some brass mesh, and I got a roll of it back here that I used to make mufflers in those header pipes on that rat rod. Here it is right here, this brass mesh. And I got to thinking, well, I could use that instead of fiberglass resin, because fiberglass resin always sinks in if you're trying to patch a good sized hole. But what if I painted this over with a coat of Pour 15, and I shaped that that brass mesh to fit here and to come up in and fit behind this gutter mount, and I laid it right in the paint there and kind of let that harden up, and then put a coat on top of it, and I could come up under here and do something very similar. I could, you know, make me a piece and get one that fits in here and kind of do the same thing. It's almost like gluing it into place with some glue that's going to harden up real good. And I'm curious enough to try it, because I don't have a lot to lose, because if I'm going to cut all this out anyway, or if that's what I have to do to fix it right, then how much of a difference would it make if I put that on there and it didn't hold or it didn't work? So that's what I'm thinking about doing. Now the next thing I have to think about is the temperature. It's cold, it's below freezing. So I took the Pour 15 in the house to thaw out. I'm thinking about getting me a hairdryer and just warming this spot up, cutting my piece of mesh, and then trying it. I don't have too much to lose except the time I'm going to invest in it. That's what I'm thinking about today. Okay? So we'll see what happens with that.